once that whistle goes to start the game, it's game on. You can't tell them to stop. If you've made an error, you can't say stop, we've made an error. The adrenaline rush that you get from that is pretty good, and that sort of, keeps you going. Not everyone is going to be an elite sports person, but by doing this, we sit courtside for netball, so we've got the best seat in the house, so we feel part of that sport.
I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered 2.
G'day guys, today's a special episode because we're not in the studio today. Instead, this podcast comes to you from Champion Data HQ in Southbank, Melbourne, where we went along to meet some of the staff behind the scenes who deliver sports data all over the world. If you've ever dreamed of working in sports and data specifically, then this app might just spark some interest for you. Champion Data provides data-driven insights with high-tech speed and precision and works closely with sporting organisations, clubs, broadcasters, sponsors, digital and media content providers. This episode is a collection of bite-sized interviews with over a number of staff working across data analysis, account management, broadcast design, and much, much more. By the end of this episode, you'll have a pretty good knowledge of just some of the jobs that you can do in data, but specifically at Champion Data. If you like what you're hearing and want to get exclusive access to other amazing professionals in the sports industry, you can join over 650 members in the Sports Grade community where you can meet with them fortnightly on events. You can come to our in-person events as well and be part of our exclusive online community on Discord. You can be notified about our next member drop, which is happening this week at our website at sportsgrade.com.au/community. In the meantime, enjoy this chat with the team at Champion Data. Let's go. Looking for a future in sport? Be ready to transform the industry. Deacon's School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences is ranked number 1 in the world. Study with them and be prepared to redefine what it means to work in sport. Plus, experience priceless practical experience with elite industry partners.
Hi, I'm Daniel Hoyne and I'm the Senior Analyst here at Champion Data. So my role is we have a team of 6 full-time analysts at Champion Data and we're all responsible for telling the story of the game to various different clients for various different sports. With the level of data that we've got available, we're there to provide content for each individual client where they're then able to tell the story to their relevant markets and relevant audiences that they're trying to hit. So we're working right across the week, Monday to Sunday, in various roles, in various days of the week. So it's pretty in depth. It's pretty full on, but it's extremely interesting if you enjoy data and sport aligned together. It's a pretty cool job. We sit across AFL is our main one. We're the official data providers to everything that you can think of AFL wise. We're also the official data providers for netball, so that would be the second biggest sport that we provide a level of analysis service to. We also provide analysis service to lacrosse as well, golf, LIV Golf, NRL, and the A-League as well. So we're sitting right across multiple sports. We're slowly starting to get into the horse racing market as well. And hopefully other sports are going to come off the back of that work. Standard day during the week is trying to pull apart what actually happened at AFL level, if we just use that as an example, what happened over the weekend from a team and a player performance, whether that be from a strong performance or a poor performance perspective, and then answering questions that we're actually getting directly from our clients. They might want to talk about a certain player or a certain team, and we need to dive into that particular topic. And then, you're moving over to the weekend, and the weekend we're sitting back and analysing live data, across AFL matches to then communicate directly, mainly with the broadcasters in terms of what's actually happening live in game for their commentators to be able to actually reference and talk about that particular issue, in game. If we're using On the Couch as an example, so I'm involved in that process on a Monday, so that's sitting down for a production meeting at 9:30, and that's with myself, the talent, the producers, the editors. So there's about a team of about 10 of us. I come with a 5-page document for everyone in that room with everything that I've seen over the weekend for relevant talking points from each and every game. Then we sort of sit back as a collective and actually sort of talk about the various points that we actually want to use. Some of the talent might want to use some of the points that I've brought to the table. They might want to have their own points where they want me to actually investigate what actually happened, and if there is any data to actually back up what they're actually believing. From there, then I go away and actually produce the content for them from a data sense, where then we're able to actually get graphics up on screen to actually illustrate the level of analysis that we're trying to get across. The talent then see those graphics, confirm that they want those graphics, then I'll provide a little bit of extra analysis to them on the side for them to actually bring on the show, where they're then able to actually, just in general conversation, use some of the extra points that I've actually provided to them to be able to act further depth to the particular conversations that they're actually having. So it's a full-on process. It's a long day. Every Monday is a long day, but it's actually quite rewarding to actually see the end product go live to air and see the level of contribution that you've actually made to the show. Best part that I enjoy is probably game day. There's nothing probably better than actually being in a live situation where you have to think on your feet. You're seeing the data come in live, and you've got to be able to tell the story of the game as quickly as possible to then get it across to the commentators, because in 5-10 minutes that story might become a little bit irrelevant. So you've got to be really quick, thinking on your toes, and there's nothing better than sort of having that adrenaline, if you like, of a live situation. I'm very lucky that I pretty much enjoy 80 to 90% of the job that I do. So even the Monday to Friday stuff that we do, I get a real kick out of it. But the live environment is the one where it's sort of nothing beats that situation. If we're using Fox Footy as a guide, so every Thursday or Friday night game, there has to be a champion data analyst sitting in the Fox studios with the talent and with the producers, and we're pretty much there, on the couch watching the footy and actually seeing what's happening, having a look at the numbers, and then communicating as a collective in terms of what storylines we can talk about or get the talent to talk about at quarter time, half time, 3/4 time, and post game. So you're then communicating, working with the talent, and then sort of telling them what's happening from a data sense, for them to then sort of communicate that message back to the audience at those breaks. Obviously half time and full time, you actually got a fair bit longer where you can actually go into a bit more depth, but actually sort of actually trying to unpack the story of the game live then and then, where you haven't got the ability to sort of sit back for a 20-minute, half hour, 60-minute period to actually deep dive. You got to do it live, and then it's pretty sort of thrilling and exciting to actually get that across. So the communication side of things is probably the number one skill. So I always talk about that. We've got to take the stuff that we're unpacking and seeing, we've got to relay that to the client, who then has to relay that back to their relevant audience. So if we can't communicate what we're seeing in a simple and digestible way back to the client, then they've got absolutely no chance to then be able to do that back to the audience that they're trying to hit. So you can be as number driven and sort of really mathematical sort of orientated type of person, but if you can't actually portray the message that you're trying to get across, it's unfortunately almost made redundant in a sense. So obviously having a numbers background, if I look at our analysis team at the moment, none of us really have the absolute in-depth mathematical university degree, if you like. we've all started on the Champion Data capture roster, and that been over the weekend where you're working as a casual in the data capture team by just recording, sort of not simply, but just recording the level of data on each player and team for then to allow us the ability to be able to analyse the data, and then the transition from there to becoming an analyst has been successful for all of us so far, but it isn't the only way to actually sort of get on board. But as I said, just sort of coming back to the ability to be able to communicate and get that message across in an easy and digestible fashion. That's probably the most important factor in becoming an analyst.
Hi, I'm Mobilio and I'm a sports analyst here at Champion Data. Especially early in the week, it is quite hectic. You've obviously got a round's worth of data to analyse and upcoming matches. So my typical Monday, which would be the busiest day of the week, would be hop into a Herald Sun meeting. So that's with the footy editor and chief of staff, along with the journalists. And it's kind of a circle discussion, and they'll throw to me from a numbers point of view. And what we're trying to do is tell the story of the game through numbers and making it as simple as possible for them to indulge, and whether they like the idea and the concept, they'll turn that into a story. As kind of the day progresses and we move into Tuesday, I'm in charge of producing content for Fox Football, and that's covering each of the games that Fox broadcast with content packages, again capturing the same method of telling the story of the game through numbers. It's a bit of a unique role how I got to Champion Data. I went to Cedar College for 3 years and was fortunate to get a work experience. It was a part of going to Cedar. So I loved my football and I loved my numbers and kind of joined the dots and found myself at Champion. That was 3 years of doing work experience, 1 day a week, and kind of by the end of it, I had a cold email and just asked if there were any opportunities around, and was fortunate to be put on in a full-time perspective, and really haven't looked back since. I've walked in the door as a 16-year-old and I'm 24 now, and I've been around here for a long time, albeit a short journey in my career. So absolutely love it here. Like I said, it's unique, but I kind of wouldn't have it any other way. It's obviously a daunting email to send, and it's just shoot your shot, I guess, and just go for it. Like if I didn't send that, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the specific opportunities I have, and I'm pretty grateful that I did send that email off and got the right people in my camp to back me in and push myself and step outside the boundaries, which sounds a bit cliche, but looking back on it, I'm forever grateful, not only to those people that were behind me and the people at Cedar, but the opportunity that I've got here at Champion Data. The job does have a lot of perks. I specifically really like working in with this talent at Fox Football and even the journalists at Herald Sun. You meet some big figures in the game and you work alongside them and rub shoulders in a footy sense. And it's, you talk about the game and from a numbers sense, and when you see your work published on screen, it's a good feeling. So you work with some big personalities in the media, but they respect you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm a data analyst here at Champion Data. My role as a data analyst is to cover a wide range of sports, to provide data and reports to our stakeholders internally and externally. So we find ourselves filtering off a lot of data to our AFL analysts, who then speak to our media partners. They're involved pretty heavily in clubland and conversing with people on the ground. So we find ourselves supplying data, supplying reports, and just kind of being facilitators for numbers kind of around the business. It's pretty wide ranging across sort of 18 clubs. Everyone kind of wants something different. Generally speaking, we have a report that goes out every week that I'm kind of in control of getting out the door. That's kind of I think it's a 20-page spreadsheet that covers all the numbers kind of in depth that clubs get access to every Monday. So on a sort of general level, that's something that we provide that clubs sort of use as a first port of call. But more specifically, we can get some ad hoc requests coming out of clubland for more directed things based on what the club wants and needs, and we're kind of there to facilitate that. A lot of it around LIV Golf is broadcast based, so As I mentioned, we'll touch base with LIV Golf on a sort of fortnightly basis. We'll chat with them, speak with them about some of the things we've been discussing internally and ideating over, and present that to them for feedback and see if they like that. Or they'll come to us with a pretty directed request for something they want to add, and that kind of filters back to us. And that can range from anything from a graphic they want to put on to broadcast, or something to add into the kind of reports that go to the different teams in LIV Golf. So I would say mainly broadcast related, but yeah, it can be across a few different areas as well. The hardest bit about the job, I would say, is kind of being across everything. Like at Champion, we've got our fingers in a few different pies, from footy to golf to lacrosse, netball. We even do a bit of NRL stuff. So trying to kind of be across all of it, especially from a data point of view, can be a bit tricky. You're juggling a few balls there. But the best part, I think, would be just the kind of level of conversations you're able to have with people. Like, you work in sport, you have very kind of intelligent sport, water cooler conversations, just with people that work here. So that's a really enjoyable part of being here, I think. So I've been a Champion for about 12 months. My undergraduate degree was in exercise science, and I thought I didn't really want to follow that pathway. So I found myself picking up a master's in sports analytics at La Trobe. And that was really great to open the door into sport for me. A lot of great opportunities for internships came out of that. Was able to make a lot of relationships in the industry, learn a lot as well along the way. And I think that really helped get me to where I am now. So I came on board, as I said, about 12 months ago with, some really valuable internships and a couple of degrees that were in sport and kind of helped the technical side of things, but was also able to place myself in the industry as well, which obviously really helped.
I'm Scott Disdale, and I'm an AFL Analyst at Champion Data. So it varies. During the week, my main task is dealing with clients for the AFL website and the app. So the journalists there have articles and stories in mind that they want to talk about, and it's our job to help provide the data that will tell that story. So it's data to accompany ideas that they already have on players or teams and how they're playing, or it's providing content that will be a platform to a new story. So the AFL website and AFL app data comes from in here. They have their own meeting where they discuss what they want to talk about, and then the journalists will individually email me. It can be as vague as, we want to talk about what Melbourne are doing well, what have you got? Or they, most of the time, are very thorough in what they want and really on the money. And it's an in-depth question, like we're talking about Harry Mackay and his shot at goal accuracy. Can you give me this number, this number, this number? And I just email that straight back, or make a table, a spreadsheet, etc. Most of the time, it's sort of a backlog of emails that have come through with queries, and just working through them in a timeline. So you've kind of always got something to move on to next. Get the email out with the data, load up the next one, go again. That's most of the week. And then on the weekend, I'm a part of coding games live, which I have been for a long time, done a lot of games. So my main role is to bat call, which means I listen to the caller at the ground while watching the game on a screen in here. And I essentially QA that live call coming through. So if the caller says something that I don't agree with, or they've missed something or need a bit of help getting all the words out, because we code a lot and quite quickly, it's my job to either jump in and clean that up, or to change something if I think it's different, or to write down stuff that we want to check and edit, and then edit it later. So it's like a live QA role of the call as it's happening. When I started about 10 years ago, that was my favourite part, was working on games. Just being able to watch footy and decipher what's going on. As I've become more and more of an analyst over the years, that's the side of it that I really love now. Talking about the game, understanding what teams are doing and what players are doing, and just being able to sort of be somewhere and have, you know, someone say, "Oh, what's going on with Melbourne?" or whoever, and you just kind of already know, just because you've talked about it all week. So just having an idea of what the comp is doing, trends in the comp, and what individual teams are doing, what they're good at, what they're bad at, I find that most interesting.
Hi, my name is Matthew Gloster. I'm a data analyst here at Champion Data. Well, I think a bit of a common theme in sports jobs is you find that every day is a little bit different. There's a lot of things we do as a data analyst. We work across a lot of departments. We work very closely with our analysts. We help them out with day-to-day queries, what they're doing for their clients and helping them out. Anything that they can't find with their tools, we help. Anything a bit more complicated, we help with. We also provide reports internally and externally to clubs and to media and to governing bodies, as well as creating metrics, maintaining metric definitions across all of our sports in AFL, Netball, NRL, lacrosse, LIV Golf, and on top of that, we also help with projects that we're delivering in all sports. So we help develop capture tools and develop metrics that can go with those things. There's a bit of both. We help with capturing the right data that we are able to analyse it, and then also analyse the data and help other people with tools to analyse the data. So we work across all sort of three parts of that process. We both need to know what metrics we want to create, what are we trying to measure, and how do we capture those things to measure those things. So we need to have a good understanding of that, or on the other case, what do we have and what have we captured, and how can we make insights out of that? So there's the sort of two ways we can work in that space. Nissan wanted to have a sellable asset that they could have on screen. We were talking to Netball Australia. They wanted some more analytics in their sport. They wanted to use the data that they were capturing more effectively. So essentially we tried to find a performance metric with what we were capturing to sort of try to tell the story of the game and who was doing well in each game. So we developed the Nissan Net Points based on a series of interactions with the match and weighted them according to how relevant they were to the performance of the team. So it came across with the Nissan Net Points, and you get points based on certain interactions with the match that each player has. There's a million ways. That's I guess that's the interesting part. You can be as simple or as complicated as you want with any of these things. You definitely want to be able to tell the story easily, but yeah, some of the algorithms you can get quite technical with, as long as it comes with a pretty simple explanation at the other end. It's always been combining the two passions of sport and numbers in my life, so it's just a perfect intersection of those things. So I get to talk about sports all day, but also dig into the numbers that happen in those sports. I think through my experience, I always try to just take as many work experience opportunities as I could. Didn't matter if it was in sports or not. I did some work experience outside of sports, but having just work experience in general is just really important when you get into the if you're starting into the sports environment. But then taking any work experience you can with clubs and things like that, because I know there's a lot of volunteers needed each year. So just trying to get your foot in somewhere. So I studied a degree in statistics, a science degree. I had a course called sports statistics, which I loved. It made me want to pursue it. I ended up starting into the La Trobe Sports Analytics Masters, which started the year that we were the first intake for that particular degree, the Sports Analytics Masters, and it was I think it was a really good way to get into this space, because a lot of the people from that year level have gotten into jobs in sports, just when the role came up, I applied for it with the sort of experience I had, and also the degree I was doing. I think was really valuable for this particular role.
Hi, I'm Chris Burton. I am the team lead of cloud services at Champion Data. We mainly look after the building of sports data platforms, which gets essentially sold to major sports governing bodies as a way for them to manage and on-sell their own data. A regular day is sort of up at 7:30 coding, straight into it with a cup of coffee. Predominantly at the moment developing in AWS world with C#. We use quite a lot of the new AWS technologies around in terms of like Docker containers, step functions, Fargate instances, Lambda functions, SQS, all the serverless buzzwords and stuff you can think of, we probably use them here. Then in between that, I'm also responsible for people managing my team. So my days also spent making sure everyone in my team is happy in what they're doing. They're not being blocked by anything. They don't have any personal issues, and if they do, we try and deal with those. So yeah, I'm sort of in between a technical standpoint, a client-facing standpoint as well. I have a lot of meetings with the UK after hours to talk with the UK clients, and then also the people management side of things. So yeah, I'm spread across quite a wide range of stuff that we do here. One of our sports data platforms is the AFL sports data platform. So we get all the stats, if you will, that the guys capture. We ingest it, store it into AWS, and then we provide that to whoever wants to use it, be it clubs, be it betting agencies, TV broadcast. Who else do we do? Media, like newspapers and stuff like that. Yeah, so yes, everything that comes into the platform is then fed out to the AFL industry. One of the major projects we're working on at the moment is TDI, which is Tennis Data Innovations. So they're based in the UK. I've been over there twice in the last 6 months to work with those guys. Will, who's only been here a year, he also got the opportunity to come over to London. They're in Wimbledon. So we're building the platform for those guys. So they're trying to consolidate all the different various sources of tennis data, bring it all in, consolidate it into our sports data platform so that it's their data. No one can take it off them. They can do with it as they want. So basically, we sort of get the request for features that they want. So they might want new statistics coming in that sort of indicate momentum of a tennis match. So we can bring that in, store it, push it out the door to ATP TV. Betting agencies are the big one with tennis. So in tennis, all the metrics or the statistics, if you will, are created by external companies. And so we'll go to them and say, hey, how do I get hold of the momentum statistic? And they'll say, here's our API, or here's our WebSocket collection, here's our queue, or whatever it is. And then it's our responsibility then to build a way of collecting that data, bringing it in, sending it back out, all within sort of your less than 1 second, 1 to 2 second sort of world. So we've got to be super quick, we've got to be accurate, and we've got to be right. So AFL's a little bit different in that we capture it all in-house. So the guys capture it, it comes through into what we build. And for AFL, so all the sports that we capture in-house, we also build the metrics for. So if in AFL world you got like your standard kicks, handballs, marks and stuff, that's easy, that's just push of a button. But then to calculate things like how efficient is Dustin Martin at kicking the ball inside 50 on his left foot, that's all done by our team in the platform. Gotcha. So yeah, so that's the difference between an internal, if you will, platform and then an external platform where we get all that provided to us. So essentially two different streams that we work with. The metric side of thing, that goes from sort of inception of the metric by the data analyst team. You know, they'll come up with this ridiculous idea for a metric and they'll go, right, we need to pull together 100 different data points, roll it all up and spit out a percentage. And so they'll sort of come up with a formula and then they'll give the formula to us and we build it, essentially. Nice. So, well, for us, it's mainly development. You need to be a good core developer. Like we're in the technology team. Your core skill is C# development for our team. And that's not saying that's all we touch. Like we can do scripting, we can do unit testing, we do our own testing stuff. We're moving, everything new we do is AWS cloud first. So everything we try and do, we go, can it be done serverless? If it can, that's what we do. If it can't, can it be done on the cloud? Yes, then that's what we do. And if we can't do it, then pretty much it does come to my team. I'm the cloud service team, so if it's not cloud related, we don't do it. Basically, that's where an AWS house, so all the AWS services, basically. Key skill that you need is, personally, you need to be thick-skinned. It is a rapid pace live sport. Like, you can't be late. Like, if there's something due to go out on the TV, they're not going to wait for you. It's quarter time in the footy. If it's not there, it's not there. Bang, you've missed your chance. And the reputation could take a hit out of that. But yeah, it's very, very fast paced. No 2 days are generally the same. Oh, so much better than working in a bank. Honestly, like, if you like sport, then it's a good place to be. Because yes, you're developing. Yes, you're working with essentially data in, data out. It's numbers. It's boring stuff like that. But it's got a good context. You wrap it in a sports context, and I'm an absolute sports nut. I love all sports. So it's a great place to work because you actually understand what the numbers are doing, and talking about the metrics and stuff. Then you see that out on the TV. If you're in a bank, you never see. I let that transaction go through. Yeah, good one. Or whereas if you go, right, I helped build that graph that Patrick Dangerfield's talking about at halftime in the grand final. That's pretty rewarding working in sport. So yeah. Predominantly, the first thing I look for is culture fit at Champion, and then also obviously technical skills is super important. So for me, we're looking at good C# developers, good AWS developers, and people that can learn quick and be independent. Yeah, that's pretty much what I look for in an interview. So I've been here nine and a bit years now. I've been to Liverpool for the Netball World Cup. I went to Bangkok and Jeddah for the golf. And I've been to London twice now for the tennis, as well as Jacksonville and New York. So yeah, I've been around. I get to travel a fair bit nowadays. It's a bit of a perk of the job.
Hi, my name's Phil Odlum and I'm a design lead at Champion Data. Traditionally, I'm a graphic designer in broadcast, and the main role is to build graphics for the TV and venue, stadiums, to deliver stats and player graphics to the screens. So our main graphics that we would look after are building score bugs that deliver scores and stats throughout the broadcast and through the match. This is all done live, with the stats being captured and pushed through to the score bug via a interface that an operator will trigger to bring on the scores or stats related to the game. At Fox Footy or Channel 7, which are clients for the AFL, we would build individual graphics that would be branded in the channel to deliver the information via templates that are graphically animated and deliver a product suite full of graphic templates. So there are a number of roles that we do. We have operators that would trigger the graphics that are bringing in the live information via the capture. Also, we have manual graphics that are template built that will have information that could relate to history or something of an up-and-coming game that we can deliver to the screens to promote the shows or information that is related to the sport that we're televising. We generally work Monday to Friday in building graphics, so we'll work with the client in coming to a design concept of a new graphic that we will deliver. We will get sign-off with that. there could be sponsorship involved in that as well, so it could go through to a third party. We would then build that in our 3D environment, which is a broadcast specialty machine called VisRT, and then we will do some testing, and then we would roll that out for the broadcast on a Thursday or a Friday night. When it comes to supporting that, we will have the opportunity to be online to fix anything that comes up, and broadcasts traditionally can have a lot of people involved, so things do go wrong, but we can actually go in online and supply a fix for the certain graphics. The best part of the job is actually seeing some graphics or design that you've created or come up as a concept actually get to a TV screen or a scoreboard screen and actually go to an audience of thousands of people. There's times that I could be out at a venue, a pub or something like that, and someone would ask, what do you do? And the football or the basketball or netball is on, and I can look up at the screen and say, point to the screen and say, that's what I do. And that's what I deliver. So that's an exciting part of it, is actually seeing it from concept through to being able to deliver a message or a story of the game. There's not one word that you can describe, but I just love it. I love the work, being able to work in an industry that I love sport, and I love to design. So to combine design and sport into the one thing and do it every day is the dream job. Well, design comes in many different formats. You can be a sign writer, you can be a print designer. I fell in love with sort of the TV side of graphics and being able to be challenged on the way that graphics need to look on TV, and that led me to moving into the sports side of things, where every game, every scenario of a sporting live production, you don't know what the result's going to be. So there's an element of unknowing, and that sort of keeps you on the edge of your seat in the way that you can build a graphic that needs to accommodate certain information, and you just don't know what that result's going to be. So Brownlow medals and grand finals, there is a certain mystery about the way that things are going to look on screen. From a young, looking back at a career now, I've been at Champion 15 years, that I would encourage you to just follow your dream of, if you love sport to and love design, is to look at, all sport has graphics on it, and start to visualise what are the best way to deliver a message on the screen in the quickest and the best way. One of the things that I try to explain to people is that you need to deliver a message on screen without audio. So if you're in a crowded pub and you can't hear what's going on, and a graphic goes up on the screen, you want to be able to deliver that message without having to explain it. So there's a challenge in that, and it's a real trick of the trade of learning the skill of broadcast design to come up with something that's not overcomplicated. Design in all aspects is changing, and digital design is becoming the next big thing. The second screen, as we sort of refer to it, is being able to deliver multiple outputs with different information. So the TV side of it is the bread and butter, and that's basically going with the commentators and the presentation of the game as it is. But to be able to look at a second screen, which we now build apps for tracking, we build information that sort of goes out for commentators to follow the stats of players, the interaction of having a mobile device in your hand while you're watching the TV is pretty much the done thing now. So we are constantly looking at ways to broaden the depth of the analysis that we're showing. So TV will stick to the nuts and bolts, stats, everything that's about the game, but then we can go into a bit of a deeper dive on the digital platforms, which is broadening the depth of what we need to know. So one of the things, and one of the challenges of what we do at Champion Data is sports broadcast not only takes into account what's going on for the main broadcast, which again, score bug, the supers and everything to do with the game. We're also dealing with innovation, augmented reality, putting graphics on drones, being able to have 3D logos flying through the stadium. We also do all the stadium venue graphics on the big screen. So we need to be able to have that updating live throughout the corporate boxes and the bars. We have information that is all driven by the same application that comes from our capture software. So that flows real time without the need for anyone to be involved in that, but there are a number of graphic outputs that we are delivering constantly on a weekend for the sports broadcast. The one that I love is AFL, and that's just from my early age, just being able to follow that. But golf, cricket, netball is a new sport that we've done for the last few years, and I've learnt so much more about it because of the role of actually designing the templates and the graphics that need to go into that. Dealing with different production companies as well, the channels, you learn what works and what doesn't work from that perspective. The new stuff, which is always looking at new sports, so basketball, I love NFL, I love the way that their broadcast is done in the States. They're things that I would really love to get into, but yeah, being in Australia and having Aussie rules as a sport and being able to produce graphics for that, I never get tired of it. If you're wanting to get into the sports industry and understand the way that a broadcast or a company works in the sports industry, the broadcast is a ever-changing landscape that brings many challenges. The clients that we're dealing with are always wanting more. So you can't just rest on your laurels. You've got to be looking at the next best thing, which is why we try to innovate so much. It would be, it's always good to understand the technology that you're using but not be scared of the technology and learning new things. And even though I've been in the industry for over 25 years, I'm still learning. So don't be afraid to continue to push yourself to learn.
Tom Pettigrew, Sales Account Manager at Champion Data. A lot of the role is looking after the clients that we have at the moment and then going out and monetising the products and services that we sell. So really just being the point of contact for all of our customers and clients if there's any issues they have or queries that they have, we're the sort of first port of call. And then within that is if we're doing anything with them around services that we've sold or products that we've sold, we'll work with the internal teams and internal stakeholders to get that done and get it over the line for them. There's a bit of business development that's going out and pitching to not only existing clients, so upselling and renewing their business, but then there's also selling them on new products and services, whether that be new data feeds that we're sending for different sports or different products that we've got, like sports data platform, things like that. So there's certainly an element of business development. And then there's the natural sort of leads that come into us, which might be just sort of small businesses or people looking for data feeds and things like that. So yeah, it's many and varied along the lines of renewal and upgrades, and then finding new business and winning new business out there with different people. You certainly need to be across a lot of departments because commercial traverses a lot of those, whether that be the tech team, broadcast, technical services, senior leadership, whatever that might be. So you certainly have to have a relationship and a knowledge of all the different teams and be able to know who to speak to and what to speak about in order to get certain projects and certain things delivered. So yeah, there's certainly an element of knowing every part of the business in order to get various things done for clients and get projects done. Best thing about the job is helping people to kind of achieve the goals that they want to achieve through the products and services that we have. It's really good to be able to see or talk to a client or a customer about something that they want to do. Like I had a good example is I had a call with someone the other day and they were talking to me about a new kind of app that they were developing or a new build for their app, and they wanted to integrate some of the data that we have and some of the services that we do from a content perspective, and it was really great to chat with them about that and understand what they want to do. So that idea of being able to help people each day. The most challenging part is certainly navigating internal and external stakeholders, and when certain things go wrong, as invariably they do, it's just navigating that and making sure that not only the people internal teams are happy and we're getting things done, but the external stakeholders and the clients are kept happy and that everything runs smoothly. I think you have to enjoy talking to people and be a people person. I think that's probably like number one. That having good interpersonal and communication skills is a really big part of it, because you're not only talking to people via email, but you're speaking to them on the phone, in person, catching up. So just a need to want to speak to people, or a need to be able to communicate and have that kind of interpersonal skills. I'd say that's number one. And then the ability to kind of work under pressure and to handle multiple things at once. There's certain client issues or client things that pop up that then you need to go to multiple people and juggle sort of different clients all at once. Just that ability to be able to handle multiple timelines and multiple clients at once is certainly something that would be a key to this role. I'd say doesn't have to start in sport. If sport is your goal, there's so many ways to get there, and that might be like volunteering at a different event or interning at a different business or whatever it might be. But I'd say focus or write down what it is that you enjoy or what you want to do, find a role that fits that, and then apply and put yourself out to as many people as possible and build that network. I'd say that's the key. But yeah, I would say that certainly don't stop banging down the door if it doesn't happen from day one, because eventually it will happen, and everyone's route's different, and my route didn't go straight to sport. I went through a few different other avenues, but eventually I got there. And so it's worthwhile in the end. So yeah, just keep banging down the door and eventually you'll get in. So we work across the AFL, Netball, PLL, NLL, and TDI, as well as we cover some other little sports, so NRL and a few like that. So we cover broadcast media, print media, digital, wagering, radio, and a bunch of others. Yeah, we cover a lot of different clients and areas. The commercial department within Champion Data, I think, is the intersection of kind of all of the different teams, and we're the ones that exist to monetize and promote the products and services that we build here and that we have here. So our job is to take what all of the great people and the great teams within this business do, and then take it out to the businesses outside of the four walls here, and sell it to them and monetize that. The commercial department, there's three of us, and we cover every single one of the clients across the business. So yeah, it's a small team. But we do get a lot done. How like a standard kind of proposal or pitch goes out to a customer or a client. A client might come to us with an idea or a concept that they want to get done. That could be anywhere from setting up an existing app using some of our AFL data, or it could be running competition management for a new sport or a sports league. So what we'll do is we'll take all of that information, speak to the client about their requirements and their requests. We'll then bring that internally, chat to all of the various teams here. So we mainly cover the tech team, tech services. If it's a broadcast related concept, we'd obviously talk to the broadcast team. We do a lot of work internally to come up with the proposal, and then we will go back to the client and present that to them. And from there, we would just go down the path of having an agreement in place, negotiating a fee, and then getting everything set up. So yeah, it's about listening and understanding what the client wants, taking that back to the internal stakeholders, making sure that everyone's clear on the timelines and what's agreed, and then going back and presenting that to the client and the customer, and ultimately agreeing on a proposal and a fee, and then getting it set up.
Hi, I'm Eshman. I'm the sports manager at Champion Data. So I've been a champion for just under 23 years. I started in 2001, and I was originally employed to do predominantly rugby league. Actually I was living in Melbourne at the time, then born and bred Sydney, but I happened to be living in Melbourne at the time. Rugby league took me back to Sydney, which was handy. I was able to move back home and do a sport that I love, which was rugby league. And then over the years, my role has morphed into, as Champion Data's picked up new sports, I would work on those sports. So in 2008, we started capturing netball. And because I was looking after all sports, I took over the role of netball. And because netball is the second, we only have two sports where we're the official sports in Australia. That's AFL and netball. So for rugby league, we do rugby league, but we're unofficial, so we have a client base, but it's not official through the governing body, where netball is the official one through the governing body. So started with netball in 2008, and to this day I'm still, obviously working in netball. So I'm doing a similar role, but I'm more involved with proposals now, managing the entire sport, managing the governing body, helping with the broadcaster. I've never travelled as much as I have in the last 5 years. I've been to New Zealand because we're also official for Netball New Zealand. So I've been to New Zealand. The 2019 Netball World Cup was in Liverpool in England, so I went there, just come back from South Africa, had 4 trips to South Africa for this World Cup, been to the US a few times. So my role has gone from quite an insular role within sort of Champion Data, and now because of the way Champion's expanding, because I have knowledge in pretty much like quite a lot of things within Champion Data, because I've been here so long, I've actually been able to expand and actually work in lacrosse in America. We did XFL, which is sort of like an American football. I was able to help with that. So whilst netball and probably rugby league are my main sports, probably netball is my main sport, I do have knowledge and experience because I have so much knowledge and experience in other sports, been able to, when we get a new sport in, I'm able to offer my assistance, guidance and expertise on those sports as well. So yes, at Champion Data, I used to look after every sport other than AFL, because AFL is a juggernaut in itself. So I look after netball, rugby league, rugby union, soccer. So any sort of sport that we capture within Australia is what I generally look after outside AFL. It does change each day. But some of the things you do is obviously rostering, making sure that the upcoming week, and if not a few weeks, rosters are full and we've got the right people allocated to the right games. There's also an element of analysis that I have to do depending on what time of the year and where the particular competition is at. So I do analysis for netball, I do analysis for rugby league, for various media and broadcast clients, and generally just be prepped for anything that we need to be aware of for the next month, and we also, any proposals or potential clients or opportunities in the future is always generally part of the working week as well. When I say look after netball, with AFL, we have multiple departments looking after various aspects of the sport. You know, we've got operations, we have commercial, we have analysis, whereas with netball, I generally do it all, because it's smaller sport. So I do all the operations, so the training, the rostering, looking after staff. I also do to make sure all the technology is working correctly, so I work closely with the IT team. I also, if there's any potential proposals or opportunities, I work closely with our commercial team to help expand on those opportunities. So pretty much anything that to do with the sport of netball or Champion Data, I either do or I have a fair, my footprint is very much on it to make sure we get an end result that we all are after. So, and in addition to that, like I work closely with Netball Australia. So if Netball Australia have any questions or queries, etc., they would come to me. Also, I have a close working relationship with Fox Sports, who is the official broadcaster of netball. So anything to do with netball comes through me, generally through me first. I suppose the challenge is for netball, like for rugby league, I say we capture out of a centralised bunker in Sydney, not in Melbourne, in Sydney. So you can sort of manage the staff and the technology and things like that a little bit better. Whereas with netball, one of the challenges is we capture live at venue. So I have people in Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Sunshine Coast. So one of the challenges is managing remote staff at different venues, and whenever you go to a venue, with netball, it's a bump in and bump out process, and that means all the infrastructure for that game gets brought in, say the morning of, then there's a game, and then everything gets taken out. So we really have a brand new game or brand new setup every single time there's a game of netball. So just managing that, that's probably a challenge. Just trying to make sure that everyone is working off the same sort of hymn book, so to speak, you know, following the same procedure. And the way we capture, we have a dedicated caller sort of who commentates on the game in a very structured way using definitions that we've developed. And then we've got a keyboarder who's inputting that information. So it is difficult to make sure that every caller in every state is capturing to the same sort of definitions, which should be what happens, but there's always little nuances that make it sort of a little bit different to you know, Sydney caller might be a little bit different to my Adelaide or Perth caller. So we're just trying to manage that expectations and make sure that they are capturing to the same standard that we need. So that's challenges. Some of the good things, it's live sport. Once that game starts, no matter what sport it is, whether it's netball, rugby league, AFL, etc., once that whistle goes to start the game, it's game on. You can't tell them to stop. If you've made an error, you can't say stop, we've made an error. So the adrenaline rush that you get from that is pretty good, and that sort of, you know, keeps you going. And I think a lot of people sort of like that live aspect of it. Like, not everyone is going to be an elite sports person, but by doing this, you sort of, we sit courtside for netball, so we've got the best seat in the house, so we feel part of that sport. For my job, Need to be organised, need to be able to time manage your own time, because, you know, on any particular day I could be moving to 2 or 3 different sports, and not just the same task in a sport. Like I could be doing rostering for one sport, and then the next minute I need to do analysis over, you know, the next hour, and then there's a commercial meeting or you know, a proposal meeting that I need to attend. So just swapping and changing into different roles. So you've got to be able to manage your own time. You need a certain degree of attention to detail. Like we're putting up live data, we've got to make sure that it is correct. So I need to make sure, especially you know, with netball, like if a stat goes up on the broadcast, you know, you just got to make sure it's right. Like one thing, a little sort of personal antidote is I can't watch sport in the same way now as a general person would, because you look at the graphic, you look what's going up, you look what's happening, and my wife often gets frustrated with me when something goes up on television. It doesn't matter which sport, whether it's the sport I'm involved in or whether it's just some other random sport. I can pretty much pick when there's an error in a graphic, where it should be corrected, what's happened and things like that, and you know when there's a problem. So that's something I definitely need to be aware of. And I just need to know, my role, and because I'm looking after sort of the sport, I actually do get a good sense of what is happening out within the Champion Data sort of ecosystem, like across the whole board. Like I just don't, not just IT or not just commercial, not just operations. I'm quite lucky where I actually pretty much have my hand in a lot of pies in many different departments of Champion. So I need to be able to, you know, be aware of that. But I have been here a long time, so yeah, I've learnt my way to navigate around the environment. So one of the things I've just finished is I've just come back from South Africa for the 2023 Netball World Cup in Cape Town. And the next World Cup is actually in Sydney in 2027. So for netball, and from a netball perspective, when I was in South Africa, I trained up local staff, but obviously when it's in Sydney, the staff for the Netball World Cup will be coming from the Champion Data stable. So anyone who works in netball for me within the next 4 years all will be leading towards the ultimate goal, which is the Netball World Cup in Sydney in 2027. 16 teams from around the world, 10 days. It's a party atmosphere, it's a tournament. We've got a very serious role to play, but it's ultimately the pinnacle. It's the pinnacle for the athletes who play netball, but it's also pretty much the pinnacle for Champion Data as well when it comes to, you know, capturing and analysing live netball. Firstly, you need to know the sport. Like, you don't need to be an expert in the sport in terms of, you know, an elite coach, or you don't need to be an ex-elite player or umpire or whatever it is, but you need to have a very good understanding of the sport. Like, we do need people to know the sport, because we're teaching people a new role that they've probably never seen before. Capturing live statistics is something that a lot of people haven't seen before. So it's difficult when I need to actually teach people about the sport as well as what the role is. So definitely knowing the sport helps. People need to be aware that yes, it's live sport and it's fun, but you're not there to watch and just watch it as a fan would. So you need to be able to switch between, you know, enjoying the sport, but then when it's time to work, you actually got to concentrate and knuckle down and say, right, it's work time now. So that's one thing, because you can generally tell when people walk through the door when they're just there because they just think this is sport, like how easy is this going to be? So you actually need to, like a graduate needs to know that there's more to it than just watching sport for a living.
Hey guys, one last thing before you go. If you'd enjoy a quick email from us each Friday on all the latest job openings, networking events, Q&As with industry professionals and latest podcast episodes, then subscribe to the SportsGrad newsletter. Head to our website www.sportsgrad.com.au/newsletter to subscribe. There's also a link in our show notes to join.